Crackheads, it's Halloween, it's Friday, it's the crack baby. You know, we've had a bit of a tough week here. UFC 321 didn't go according to plan. We all had a bit of an idea of how things went. That did not happen. What you need to know now is, especially American crackheads, you need to know that it is 5 p.m. here. Darkness has fallen on the Emerald Isle. That can only mean one thing on this day. It means lots of kids are going to be knocking on my door and ringing my doorbell looking for sweets, and the lovely Elaine downstairs is going to do her best to not make a scene down there. The dog goes crazy when people knock on the door, so I'm sure you're going to hear some features from the great Reggie as things unfold here. However, we do have a show to do. We do have a lot to talk about. I mean, Tom Aspinall, what's going on there? This guy in and out of hospital all week since he's been home. We got the update from Andy earlier in the week, and things need to shake out. I mean, Volkov doesn't seem like the bona fide number one contender right now with everyone after the Jolton Almeida win. You know, we obviously have Jones and Pereira going off in the background. And while all that's happening, Andrew Tate has been announced as the new CEO of Misfits. Bit of a weird one there. And Gervonta Davis, who's fighting Jake Paul in 2 weeks, has got himself into more trouble, which is becoming commonplace for Tank at this stage. Also, Ronda Rousey, not a big fan of MMA. If you haven't heard over the last 2 weeks, not a big fan of the MMA world. We've a lot to get through, as I said. I would not be able to do this by myself. So let's bring in the two very, very talented co-hosts of this brilliant show. First of all, Chuck Mindenhall. And, there they are.
Hey, man.
Chuck and Ben, how are you?
I'm well. That is a new hat. Well, it's new to me. I mean, I've had it for a little while, but it's not as old as the franchise itself. Now, wait. Before we get started, you said you make goodie bags, or what was it? Like you said something to hand out. What do you put in these
lucky bags? Is what you said.
Well, I don't know what they're called.
Over text.
Well, any child that gets them is lucky. You know what I mean? Because
okay, I thought we were dealing with something that was a thing in Ireland. The way you said it, you were like, "Oh yeah, we're giving out lucky bags."
Yeah, like we just know what that means, you know?
Yeah, and I thought, okay, here we go. We're gonna find out about another Irish thing that is gonna be delightful and hilarious.
I assume
it turns out that maybe it's a thing that you made up.
Yeah. I assume since we were talking about Kinahan that it has cocaine in it. But you tell us, what is in the bag? Like, is it?
It was adjacent to the Kinahan conversation, to be fair. Funny if you hadn't seen the article in New Yorker, please go and check it out. But I meant like we construct our own bag of treats. So we'll buy lots of different things and put them in a bag and then give them a collection, like a collection of different treats to the children as they knock on the door. Now, when I say we, Elaine did all of that.
Yeah.
I was there briefly while she was doing it, and I was like, yeah, they look good.
All you did is just keep picking candies for yourself to eat as you're watching
I
the
had to
process.
make sure they weren't poisoned. I mean,
razor blades.
Is that not what you call a lucky bag? Like a lucky dip situation, no?
No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
but
we don't have lucky bags.
Respect you for pre-preparing it in some bag thing. I just go with a big bowl of candy that I will dole out according to what I think of your costume and the effort that went into it. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're gonna be the kid who's a little too old for trick-or-treating and you roll up in here and you're just wearing your street clothes and you got a mask that you're not even wearing, it's like pushed up to the side of your head and you're just like trick-or-treat, whatever. I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna give you a fun-sized Snickers.
Yeah.
And then be on your way.
Ben, be honest. What would you give yourself? What would you give yourself
Talk about this,
if you showed up at your door right now?
Me? Oh, I'm gonna put on my costume later. I didn't know if we were doing that. I'll be honest. Okay, so I'm a lobster. If you can't tell, I'm a little disappointed. I'm a little disappointed with the claw. People can see here. The claw it's kind of floppy. I'm trying to like attach stuff to like make
more of a hook.
Yeah, it's because there's like a thumb part, but the hands don't go all the way up into it. And I really had a vision of myself when I bought this. I was like, going to a Halloween party tonight. I'm gonna come in there. I'm gonna be doing my claws. Somebody put a beer in my claw. I'm gonna stand there with it. It's gonna be hilarious.
It's just gonna fall right through that claw.
Yeah, I thankfully I have some time. I have some ideas. I'm gonna make some alterations, see if I can't improve it a little bit. But yeah, it's cozy. I'll say that for it. You know, you come up with a Halloween costume in Montana, you need it to be a little bit cozy. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable all day long.
I'm just waiting for like some fan of Ben's to like, be a bit late to the show, click in, and here he is like putting the world to right about Andrew Tate while dressed as a lobster. What are Misfits thinking? God's sake.
It's a serious business.
Speaking of serious business, as you guys know, you've both written about it. You've both wrote about it this week, the Tom Aspinall situation. We should start with the last update we got from Team Aspinall, which came from his father, Andy, his coach, head coach, a man who seems to be in and out of the hospital since they have returned home. Andy, can we have a look at the Andy Aspinall video? The last update we got.
We got an appointment yesterday morning with a friend of ours who is one of the doctors from the UFC, and he got us a private appointment at Cheadle Hospital to see an eye specialist yesterday. He kind of basically did the same as the guy that we saw over there, said it's bad, it's not good, but his eye is a little bit more closed than it was. His right eye still can't see anything. He said it's just grey. And they tested him on words and he just couldn't see anything. His left eye, 50%, he went down about 4 letters and then couldn't see the letters. So one's really, really blurry and one's still not working. Sometimes when your eyes here like that, it can become displaced and stay there. And they did a few tests on that and they said it doesn't seem like that. And his vision on the eye that's the best eye, his eye wasn't following properly, so the muscles weren't working strong enough to go this way. This one just wasn't working that good at all. So we've got to have additional tests further this week, and Moyes is sorting the tests out for us, and he's got to have a CT scan, see if the bone's all right, but they think the bones are all right.
No, I have spoke to Andy briefly since he gave that update, and I know that Tom has undergone more tests. They are waiting for results. Ben, you wrote a brilliant piece reacting to the crazy outpouring of rage, it seemed, at this situation, particularly from people who seem to think Aspinall was trying to game the system here. Still, as we hear there, can't see a lot. Going through it and what should have been a night, like we all believed it would be a coronation night for him. Is it one of the weirdest reactions you've seen from the fan base in a situation like this?
Well, we've seen plenty of weird reactions over the years, and in some ways, it's a predictable reaction, right? This is usually how this kind of thing goes, which is part of what makes it kind of confusing for me when people act like Tom Aspinall gained something here, that he worked the system to his advantage, because he got poked in the eye really badly. We saw it. We saw the tip of that man's finger disappear into his eye. And you can't deny that that's going to have some effect on your vision. And then people wanted to be like, okay, he was losing the fight, which, first of all, we weren't even through the first round yet. And it wasn't like he was getting absolutely wrecked. It was a close fight. It was a close round. He got bloodied up a little bit, but he didn't seem like he was really feeling the effects of that too badly. He still seemed like he was very much in the fight. And he's watched this sport long enough, just like the rest of us. He knows what's going to happen. If somebody says, I got poked in the eye, I can't see, I'm bringing the fight to an end by saying that I can't see, he knew that people are going to be jerks to him about it, that they're going to blame him and not the guy who poked him in the eye. We've all seen that enough times that that's always how it goes. That's one of the reasons why it's so effective to cheat in this sport, is because as soon as you do it, the pressure is on the guy who was fouled to say, I'm okay, and to get the fight restarted. In this one, you could see it. Everybody was basically trying to get him to say, I can see, let's restart the fight. And when he was even saying stuff early on, like, hey, I can't see, they're like, I'm going to kind of pretend he didn't say that, because that would bring an end to the fight. Everybody wants to see the fight restarted. And when you're the guy who's like, no, I'm not fighting like this, I'm too compromised like this, people are going to get mad at you. So what did he gain? He got people mad at him. He knew people were going to get mad at him. Maybe we should just assume that that's because he realized he was at such a disadvantage. Like, the part of the conversation I can't stand is people looking at it and being like, could he have continued? Well, sure, he could have continued. He could have had that eye completely blinded, and he could have continued. He could have had both eyes blinded. You could continue fighting with zero vision. It would be incredibly dumb, especially in that circumstance, to continue fighting like that. It's pointless to even ask yourself, like, could he have continued? He's telling you he is compromised by a foul to the point where his odds of winning the fight just went way, way down. His odds of getting seriously hurt by Ciryl Gane went way up. Being able to see is a pretty important factor in a prize fight. And you have the reaction from fans is one thing. The reaction from fighters is the thing that really gets me, because you have a lot of these people, even people who have been in similar situations, like Aljamain Sterling, who still catches shit from fans for taking that illegal knee from Peter Yan and taking the DQ win in a title fight. And he knows he still catches shit for that. And he's going to even come out. And it's like, you can get these MMA fighters where if you ask them, hey, if you were losing the first round and you got poked in the eye and you saw an opportunity to get out of there, would you take it? And they would tell you 100% never. I would never do that. And yet they are all so willing to believe that any other MMA fighter would. That I can't quite understand.
That's crazy. Chuck, you actually had a great piece out speaking the two legendary eye pokies, we could call them, Mitrione and Stevens. I mean, what have you gained from speaking to these guys? I actually sent Mitrione to Ariel in the aftermath of that, because I remember that Travis Brown fight where his eye seemed like it was 9 months pregnant in the aftermath. It
was bad.
Tell me, what did these lads say to you in terms of Aspinall's situation?
Well, Ben kind of outlined a lot of what Matt Mitrione was basically saying at the time too. Like, you got to realize at the time they're looking at it like, I'm expected to go in there and keep fighting, right? Like, people want me to. This would be anticlimactic if I don't go in there. Matt Mitrione basically didn't know his options. He knew he had 5 minutes, but he kind of was like, well, I'm supposed to continue. You know, I'm supposed to go out there. He said that, you know, it was very blurry, and then he was seeing 2 of them, which is a little bit different, right? It doesn't sound as severe in the end as what maybe Aspinall was going through, where basically he has no vision in one eye and he's got compromised vision in the other eye. But he did continue, and one of the things he's able to look back and he's like, I would have done exactly what Tom Aspinall did if I could do it again, because this happened to be the last. This was a huge fight for him. It was the last UFC fight. He gets ousted and then goes to Bellator after this. He would have done the exact same thing. And, you know, he sees it from all angles. He's like, it's only smart. Even if Tom, if Tom's compromised at all and he's like iffy and on the fence, well, you should all err to the side of like, well, we'll just do this again when I'm not compromised. Because he was pointing out that one of the things we hadn't seen was just the depth perception of like takedowns and things like that, where, you know, he's going to be using these things and how affected that would be as the fight went on. And, you know, given that was the case, also, if this was calculated, which I don't think it was, like if it was calculated at all, though, you would go through these thoughts as well into that scenario. But the truth of the matter is, it's when you get into a situation where, and this is what I was talking about the Jeremy Stevens thing too, because I was there in that.
That was
Rodriguez,
right?
Yeah, against Yair Rodriguez, and Yair Rodriguez this was like his coronation. He's back in Mexico. The fans are crazy. Like, as he comes out, it was like one of these, you know, big moments for him. 15 seconds in, first exchange, poked in the eye, and now he pokes Stevens in the eye, and Stevens is walking around. Very similar. The big difference was the people in the arena that night had paid. So the anticlimactic nature of them leaving without any kind of resolution, and in fact feeling like they got robbed in this scenario, was understandable. But in the situation of this other one, right, like with Gane and Aspinall, it's a pay-per-view, which then brings everybody into the fray that paid for this event and gets nothing from it. You know, no kind of resolution. It's a bad scenario, but everybody knows. It's not like in the NBA if all of a sudden they're like, hey guys, 15 seconds in, something happens, we're done. We're not. They would reimburse you, because that's not supposed to happen. Part of the fight game, you know, is there's an element of this kind of thing. Disqualifications. You were cage side. When the Blades fight went down and Aspinall hurt his knee about 15 seconds in and wasn't able to continue. It's an unfortunate thing, but when you have the visual evidence, just bringing it all back to Ben's point, when you have the evidence, you can see the eye, the fingers going into the eye like that. Yes. I don't know how you can question the guy. It's just what it is. He would have been stupid to continue in that fight.
Well, yeah, and also how little criticism the guy who pokes him always gets, right? Like, Ciryl Gane had his fingers all the way out, you could see his fingers go to both eyes. He bowling balled this man.
Yes.
Yep. Three Stooges this man. And still somehow it's Tom Aspinall who comes in for the criticism when it's Ciryl Gane who commits the fight-ending foul. And I definitely don't think Gane meant to do that. I think that, you know, his reaction afterwards, you could tell he was just like, well, crap, this is, you know, there goes my chance, maybe. Who knows if I'm going to get it back. But I do think that we get into a weird spot with this sport with unintentional fouls. And we need to sort of, I really do think we need to examine that, because if you're poking people in the eye, I don't know if we need to get too caught up in your motivations. I don't know if we need to know what was in your heart at the moment that your fingers went into his eyes. It's a foul. It's a serious foul that can really affect the fight. We shouldn't even get into a conversation about it. All that we should do is look at the replay, confirm, did you poke the guy in the eyes or not? And if you did, then there's a point deduction, or maybe 2 points deduction as soon as we see that you did that, if the fight is able to continue. If the fight can't continue after that, then you should take a DQ loss because you did the illegal thing that caused this fight to be over. I don't know why we want to get into this thing where if we don't think that you really did it with malice of forethought, then we don't want to see any sort of consequences. That's why we continue to have this, because like, why wouldn't you poke your opponent in the eye? If I were going in there in a UFC fight, knowing everything we know, your odds of winning a fight, if you poke somebody in the eye in the first round, we've seen this statistically, they go up.
You should kick somebody in the groin too.
74% or something?
That came from Lauren Murphy when she said she attended a judging and refereeing course, and they claimed in that 74% of the time, if you poke your opponent in the eye in the first round, you go on to win. And that's not that hard to believe. Like, why wouldn't you do it?
Of course. That's what I was going to say. You should kick him
disqualified.
And grab the fence and all of that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the only time I can remember seeing somebody disqualified was back in the Pride days when Gilbert Ivel just repeatedly kept sticking his thumb in Don Fry's eye.
But in UFC fights, I don't think anyone's ever been disqualified, right?
I don't know if they have. Yeah,
for that.
Yeah, and it's when you know that's it's the foul that has the most likelihood of affecting your opponent in a way that will make it more likely for you to win, and it's also the foul that you can kind of get away with at least one. You know, they'll tell you to put your fingers back in, and then the fight will continue. You very rarely see a point deduction even for the first one.
It's tough in the sense that, like, what you don't want is a precedent where somebody gets poked in the eye and they know they can get out of it with a D. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where it kind of goes the opposite way. Now, I don't know how that would play out because we've never instituted this, but you can see a scenario then where that could be a real accusation. Somebody's poked in the eye. They're like, I can't continue. You know,
can you see people doing that? Can you imagine?
No,
like, especially knowing what we know of MMA fighters, can you? Because they would know. Like, yeah, you'll get your win money, maybe. Like, it'll short term, it might work out for you, okay. But they know you're going to take a ton of shit from the fans, especially if they think that you're gaming the system at all. It's not going to be a good move for you long term. Like, I think we worry about that as a possibility way more so than the likelihood would suggest we should.
It's interesting the way this is all, like, I agree with everything you're saying in terms of like the optics of this, or at least the loudest voices on social media. You know, giving Aspinall shit. Gane was about to win. Oh, he was so much better. This guy lost 2 title fights. Look how well he was doing against Aspinall. It's like it's weird. It's a weird reaction, but it will sell a rematch way more than the first fight could have been. Like, I mean, this new thing where look at Tom, look at how these guys saying, like, look how he faces adversity. Like he quit despite them seeing this massive 2 fingers in his eyes. That's the kind of thing people are saying. Gane, he was just about to win. It adds to the idea of a rematch. Would you say so, Chuck? Like, I mean, it makes it a lot more appealing than the first go around.
Oh yeah, because I feel like the whole narrative, and we kind of tried to guard ourselves against this too, because we're like, oh, you know, this is Aspinall's fight, man. You know, Gane has been in these spots before. Aspinall is supposed to go through them. It's high expectations, all this. That was kind of the narrative, just to get to the broader picture of all the different possibilities with if Aspinall gets through. Now you have a guy who presents, I think he gave enough evidence of a good fight that you're like, now you have a lot of doubt in the situation. I think that's kind of what was missing from the first time through. So the rematch will be a lot bigger in that sense. And obviously, like, and I know we'll probably touch on this at some point, it kind of opens the door for other scenarios to go ahead and take place. You know what I mean? But I do think that if there was a moment in this heavyweight division where you're like, you know, this just feels like a stand-in fight until we get to the fights that we want, it no longer has that feel. It feels like this is a necessary fight, and I think a lot more people will be glued to it.
It is good, right, Ben, that we're not going in with the bottom line on Gane being like, this guy fought for a title 2 times before and lost both. I feel like that will be at the back of our minds, whereas the first time around it was at the very forefront.
Yeah, in terms of marketing, there's a lot you could do with this one if you're the UFC. All you need is for Tom to show up, give an interview in which he says, you know, Ciryl Gane nearly took the sight in my eye from me, and I take that personally, and boom, you're off and running, you know? And you're right that I think that one of the reasons people reacted the way they did is because we expected this to be such a bulldoze job for Tom Aspinall, that he was just going to go out there, either going to knock Ciryl Gane out in the first round, or he's going to take him down, exploit his complete lack of grappling that we've seen in prior fights, and beat him up there. And we saw, he tried for a takedown. Gane did a good job of shutting it down. Gane bloodied him up, was having some success at range in the striking game. And it was closer to even than I think we are acting like in the aftermath, just because we expected it to be so one-sided that if it is all even and competitive, it looks like a win for the other guy. And
even there's the blood, right? Like, just gives you a sense of something else,
Yeah, the
three
visual
strikes
there of the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I think that that's one of the reasons people are acting like that. It does give the rematch more interest and a little more doubt. Plus, if we're honest with ourselves and we look around at what's going on elsewhere in the heavyweight division,
oh my God,
it's not as if there are a whole lot of other options right now for the heavyweight title fight. Like, what do you probably were making that Jailton Almeida Alexander Volkov fight thinking like, well, hey, Jailton Almeida, he's on the come up. If he can go in there and he can win one, then he looks like the next guy in line to challenge for the title. But now you look down that division and it looks like a wasteland. You might as
just
well
shutter it up.
Aspinall Gane too.
Oh man, it's horrible. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, this was meant to be a showcase for the division. They're lucky this happened with Aspinall and Gane, because if it didn't, we'd be going, well, I guess it's Volkov, the guy he beat in the first round 3 years ago. Volkov and Almeida had a horrific fight. Like,
nobody won that. Nobody.
No.
It was shot. Like, not even jiu-jitsu or wrestling guys. Nobody was watching that going, this is
still waiting for Almeida to throw a punch. I'm still waiting.
Man, it's fucked. And then Walter Walker had the heel hook against a debutant, Louis Sutherland. That was like the biggest highlight package they'll get outside of the pokes from that night. And then you had Hamdi, the Egyptian wrestler, and Chris Barnett. I don't know if you guys were around early enough to see this one, but fucking hell. Again, 15
saw Chris Barnett's whole ass in this one, by the way.
Yeah, it always helps. That was the best part of the fight. But like, this is the thing that they do with heavyweights. It's so bizarre. And they did it with Boudet as well. Hamdi wins the fight, and the UFC just days later cut him straight away. And you're like, why? Like, what are we doing with this division? Does anyone have any clue what's going on here? As well as that, a guy people are really excited about, Ante Delija, is fighting this weekend against Waldo Cortez Acosta. I got it right this time, Ben. And Tom has already said, I'm not going to fight him. He's my best mate. In fact, I'll give up the belt if he gets to title contention. Surely the UFC, Ben, are hoping Waldo gets a win this weekend against Ante Delija.
I don't know if you've noticed this over time, but there's something about Dana White that kind of, I don't want to say he likes those kinds of situations where a guy says, I won't fight this guy, but he cannot resist wading into that conversation. And it's like he takes some kind of joy in breaking their will and making them do those kinds of fights. Like he's always kind of been like that. I remember, you probably remember this, Chuck, back when Rashad Evans and Keith Jardine were stablemates at Greg Jackson's. And I remember this moment at a post-fight press conference after UFC where, Rashad was on the way up in the division and somebody mentioned like, hey, you and Keith Jardine, you guys are both looking like, you might be on a collision course here. How's that going to work? And Rashad said, we won't fight each other. We've already discussed this before. We won't fight each other. And Dana White broke in and interrupted him and he said, you'll fight him if that's the fight I make.
Oh,
and Rashad said, no, I won't. And Dana said, yes, you will. And there was tense silence that followed after that. And then, we've seen some of those instances come up where I get it when there's nothing else that makes sense. One and two guys, they're both at the same gym and they got to fight each other. And we say to them, hey, please work it out between the two of you. But this is what you guys are here for. Like, I understand the logic of it. That there have been times where the UFC's kind of gone out of their way to try to make fights between teammates just to sort of prove like you can't tell us no. If we say that's the fight you're gonna do, then you're gonna do it. I don't know. I think that this fight, especially this weekend, it seems like it's a shame that it's on this fight card, which is there's going to be a ton of fans that don't even know there's a UFC this week. They might turn on ESPN Plus just to see what's on and be like, oh crap, there's a UFC. And this is one that actually is important for the division. One of the few fights on this card that is important for its division. And so I'm interested to see what happens there. I don't think the UFC looks at it like we need to have not Ante Delija win because Tom Aspinall won't fight him. I think they go, if he wins, we'll start putting that pressure on.
Remember, like, remember also like the it was a Koscheck Fitch and Swick and all those guys.
Yeah.
And he took. I remember there were a lot of questions because all those dudes were very they were very kind of high up in the same spot, and there were questions. I remember as you bring this up, like Dana just constantly handling those types of questions with the same kind of attitude, like, "Hey, do you want if you want to be the best in your division, you're going to beat the best in your division. They'll fight if they have to," type thing.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that I've about Dana. And would you believe, two lads who are moving to, well, John Jones returning to heavyweight, Alex Pereira hoping for a move to heavyweight. You'd swear there wasn't even a fucking fight on last weekend. I mean, the way these guys posted about this thing, if there wasn't a massive screenshot of Tom Aspinall holding his eye in the background, you would not have a clue that Alex Pereira was watching that. There he is, the emojis cryptically pointing to Poatan v Bones at house. That's beige, but we won't get into that. And then we had John, John Jones, Alex. Like this, now this has just happened, right? So Tom is in the ring holding his eye at this point.
He knew this was coming, though.
This is what Johnny puts out. Alex, I'd be down to bring the highest skill level to the White House. I appreciate the respect you showed. Let's dance. And guess what, guys? He hasn't stopped there. Andy, I don't know if we have the horse showing up at Dirty Boxing last night. Oh, there, look at with the eye patch.
Yeah, with the eye patch.
I thought this was AI, dude. When I saw this, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? There is John Jones showing up to Dirty Boxing last night. All the stars were out, as the great Norm Macdonald would say. And then we also have, I don't know if you saw this interview, but it's a tough 15 seconds of watching as John Jones speaks to the schmo about his aspirations.
Can't wait to see you compete the White House. Can't wait to see it.
I know. I really hope it happens. Dana, bro, please, bro. Please. I'm training. I feel great. I'm healthy. And I'd be so honored to represent our country and do what I do best.
You think the beers are flowing out there in Nashville?
I was just wondering what happened when he rode that horse back off into the streetlights at the end of the evening.
Just a silhouette against the light.
Go back to the hotel, glass of milk straight to bed, or what? This just makes me remember though. Remember when we were all getting on John Jones's case, being like, "You got the heavyweight title. Why aren't you going to defend it against Tom Aspinall?" All this stuff, and he kept basically being like, "You noobs don't understand the high level chess I'm playing here." Master negotiator John Jones continuing to monetize this amazing brand that he has built. And what happened was you demanded a high number for what it would take to get you to fight Tom Aspinall. The UFC got the Saudis to chip in and say, "All right, we'll give you that number." You said, "Actually, never mind. No thanks." Gave up the belt without a
I didn't
fight,
think you'd come up with that shit.
walked away. Months later, turn around and be like, "I want back in." And now you're in a position where you don't have a title and you are begging for a spot on this fight card. How did you do that to yourself? You had a great negotiating position in which you could have made so much money, and now you're probably not going to make that Saudi money when you are begging for a spot on the fight card, and the UFC is in a position to be like, we don't know. We don't know.
I've never seen Jones as the kind of guy who goes in for much self-reflection, Ben. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
He's hang on a second.
He's one of those guys who, he just operates, and then the next day it's a clean slate. He just goes about his business again and says what he's going to say.
He kind of has to, though. Like if you're going to be John Jones, it's probably the only way to live. It's just to be like, fuck that. Shit happened again last night. What are we having for breakfast? Put
that one behind us. Put that whole episode behind us. Let's move on.
It's I spoke to Andy Aspinall. I know we spoke about this last week. Like I thought it was a fine position to have, to be like, why are they making Jones and Pereira? Like, my son's the champion. Like, why can't we somehow make one of these guys fight my son? Obviously, as you mentioned earlier, Chuck, this does open the door for this. Like the Landon strip has cleared, as far as I'm concerned. They can just simply say, we have unfinished business with Gane. Surely that adds to Jones and Poatan's quest here to fight at the White House.
I wanted to know if Aspinall had won, right? Like, it just comes out of the fight. Would they have been able to push him aside? Because we had this whole discussion. They're like, it would be glaring, right? Like, for them to be like, okay, Aspinall, you're the now undisputed heavyweight champion. We're just going to push you aside while we put these other two guys that you would love to fight against each other. But now that has cleared, and I mean, I'd be shocked if they didn't kind of do this now, you know, at this point, just because if you're going to get John Jones and your guarantee is maybe for one more fight, you might as well do this fight because you don't want him to be like win a championship, beat Tom Aspinall, and then he just forfeits the belt again, or whatever it is. If he can't be trusted, you don't want him to have the belt. But in this case, it's kind of a one-off, and if Alex goes in and beats him, fine. If he loses, you know, Alex can go back down to 205. You know, it's just kind of one of those situations where it's about as big of a fight, a loosey-goosey matchmaking you can do, right? Like it's probably one of the biggest fights that we've seen since, I don't even know, but that would be the type of fight that would be in the top 5, right? Like that we've ever seen. So I feel like it does, if they want to do that fight, the red carpet is out to make that fight now.
Yeah, it's I feel like we're going to go back to the same situation though, Ben. I think we've said before, and not that I want your picks here, but I think, you know, Jones has a very good chance of winning a fight against Pereira. Like he is a very strong chance given his grappling background, given Pereira's lack of grappling. The problem
I don't think
is,
Jones has thought about that though. I think he's up for any challenge, but this particular one, it just happens to be in front of him right now.
But this is the thing, right? Like, this is the thing, Chuck. Because if he fucking goes and fights Pereira and he wins, we're just right back into the same bullshit, Ben. Like, we're right back to, is John going to fight Tom? And then it's like, would you expect him, if he beats Pereira, if he watched that fight and he has a lower opinion of Tom's ability, would you expect him to fight Tom if he wins the Pereira fight?
You know, I never really believed that John Jones thought he would lose to Tom Aspinall. I just, even if everybody else thought that, I don't think John Jones would think that. I don't think that that's ever entered his mind. So I don't think it was a matter of him being like, oh, Tom Aspinall's too good and I won't do it. I do think that target selection has been very important to him especially the last years of his career. Like, it's why he was so set on having that Stipe fight, because he wanted the name on his resume, even if at that point Stipe was effectively retired already, hadn't fought in a long time, was well into his 40s. And so that seems like what he has in mind. The thing that is weird to me is, so John Jones left the light heavyweight division, went up to heavyweight. And again, if you'll recall, the reason he went up to heavyweight is because he wanted to make that big money, that Deontay Wilder kind of money, and then only to have it offered eventually and him to turn it down. So he relinquished the light heavyweight title. Now he's going to fight the light heavyweight champ, but probably at heavyweight. And if he beats him, then what? He's not the light heavyweight champ, but the light heavyweight champ also doesn't feel like the light heavyweight champ. It kind of introduces a little bit of chaos there. And I don't know. I don't know to what extent the UFC actually would be worried about that, how much they really care about how that would look, how much they would factor in if they thought, hey, there's an opportunity to make one huge fight. We'll worry about the fallout on Sunday morning. I don't know. But that would create a weird situation all the way around.
I'm so glad you brought this up, Ben, because that is a question people have. A lot of people have said to me, oh, if they make the Pereira fight with John Jones, like, what will happen to light heavyweight? Luckily, we got the answer today. Please roll the footage, Andy. The new light heavyweight king is in waiting after Mark Zuckerberg shared a story of him training with Alex Pereira. This is domination. I mean, look at this. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. I mean, John Jones.
Look how quick he just got outside.
Man, it's like BJ Penn.
Straight to mount.
It gets half guard back. Lucky for you, buddy, because you were about to get fucked. Oh, look at this scrambling. The guillotine was there. Not even going to take it. Go on, get back up, you pathetic mess. There it is. Ben, you know, you're no stranger to the mats. That man's been training 10 odd years. Seems legit to me.
This is like when you're wrestling with your kids or something. You want them to feel good. I'll tell you what, a thing that I've done that my daughters can get out of a rear naked choke at kind of any time, because I've taught them the steps to go through, and they're not exactly crushing it technique wise. But hey, if I put you in the choke, if you do the right things in the right order, then I'll let you go to reinforce, like, okay, you remembered the lessons, you did it. That's kind of what we're doing here. To me, it's always like, if you're Mark Zuckerberg, how are you not a little embarrassed to have this guy clearly just sort of like, hey, good job, buddy, like treating you like a Make-A-Wish kid, and allowing you to feel good, to feel like you actually know what you're doing, when in reality he could just mop the mats with you if he actually wanted to. Like, you must know that, right? There can't be an amount of money that makes you lose that much perspective. Like, how do you not feel like, especially you get on the mats? I don't know. I've been in this situation before where, especially grappling with really like high level guys even that are pro fighters, where I've got on the mats with them, and you can tell that they're taking it easy on you, and you're like, all right, I don't want you to exactly smash me either, but this feels shitty because and especially like if you were out there like posting the video of it and everything, I would be like, all right, are we just messing around here? Am I treat me like your little cousin that you want me to feel good, or what?
I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to be gullible, but I have seen things like this. I mean, like the Kadyrov when he did that to Chimaev. You guys remember that? Like,
he choked him wearing boxing gloves.
Yeah, if I didn't see that, I wouldn't maybe believe this, but I have seen it. And I've seen Action Jackson actually one day in New Jersey stand in against Pereira and had major success on the feet. You wouldn't expect that. But I will say that Pereira, he plays the game very well, doesn't he?
Oh my God, he is fantastic. With that, we have to pay these guys. I mean, you think that lobster suit? You think these things pay for themselves?
Tailor made, baby.
$29.99.
We're gonna hit this ad break, and we'll be back to discuss Tank Davis, his latest issues, and Andrew Tate as the new Misfits CEO. So much fun to be had here on the show. See you in a few minutes.
Do you think that some perspective, getting older, building the family you've built, has made you love the game again in a different way, like almost in that youthful way?
Just in building the family, there's a responsibility to show them what hard work is. I want to hand over a visual, an experience for them to understand, how did all of these things come about? And I need them to understand that.
It's time, as I've done so many times before, to teach Brandon Walker a lesson. And I kid you not, they go to overtime and Texas hits that game-winning touchdown, and wouldn't you know it, it happens right in Brandon Walker's face. Look at that. Now, I don't know medically how long Brandon Walker will live. He may live another 60 years. I know that his soul died right there. Right there.
But I don't mind them coming in because I don't really see it as competition. I'm a serious promoter. I'm a promoter who's gonna promote and develop world champions from the get-go, from the start. I'm gonna identify prospects, and I'm gonna build them just like the way I built Canelo, just the way I built Ryan Garcia, just the way I'm building all my champions now. It's step by step.
What did you see from the Boston side of things?
My doomer mentality was, they're going to make the playoffs as a 7 seed. Tatum's going to come back, and all of a sudden, as a 7 seed or an 8 seed, they're going to end up in the Eastern Conference Finals. Then to see it basically be just Derek White and Jaylen Brown, and like other guys that they're fine, can play, but it just doesn't look like the same thing. It was actually kind of stunning.
Crackheads, we're back. Thank you for waiting those 2 precious minutes while we shoved our faces full of escargot and caviar to prepare ourselves for this next segment of the show. And it's quite a suite we've put together here for the next 22 minutes. Mr. Gervonta Tank Davis has a fight coming up on November 14th with Jake Paul. And there was a lot of questions about this guy before this fight was made. He has quite a checkered past. And once again, now 2 weeks before this fight is set to happen, it seems he's in trouble again. I'm reading for Ben's article on Uncrowned. A civil lawsuit filed in Miami-Dade County this weekend accuses the WBA lightweight champion of battery, aggravated battery, false imprisonment, kidnapping, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, according to a report from ESPN. I believe we just had it up on the screen. Lads, this is pretty much the worst situation Netflix could have asked for 2 weeks out from this fight, Ben. It's not all that surprising, but what do you think they're thinking now up in Netflix towers at this point?
Yeah, especially because it seemed like Netflix's thinking getting into the boxing stuff was, hey, we want to have fun, but also like the kind of silly sort of fun. Like doing real legit boxing seems like it'll only get you so many viewers. Doing the kind of crazy crossover where there's like a weird hook that makes people go, well, I got to see this. That gets you the really big numbers. That seems to be what they learned from doing Tyson Paul. And then you do this one. It already was seeming like it was not going to get anywhere near the interest because, for one thing, people looked at it visually and were like, all right, it does seem ridiculous to have two people this size. You're trying to sell me on the idea like, hey, how would a really great boxer do against an okay boxer if he had to give up this much height and weight? And I don't know if that really motivates people. The boxing hardcores don't love it. They think it's ridiculous. The regular sports fans, regular Netflix viewers probably don't necessarily know who Tank Davis is all that much. Tank Davis was showing up to all the media obligations for this looking like he was doing community service. He didn't seem too motivated at any point to really sell anybody on it. And then this happens, and I've got to think Netflix is over there going like, did we maybe get into a business we didn't totally understand when it comes to boxing? Because to those of us in the fight sports world, you tell us, hey, one of these guys in an upcoming fight might actually be a domestic abuser piece of shit. We go, yeah, we've been there before, brother. Yeah. We've had this conversation and had to have this showdown with our own consciences plenty of times before. And maybe for Netflix, this is kind of new territory where they're going like, man, this is not what you want to hear 2 weeks out from the thing. I'm wondering if Netflix is looking around in an out clause in here if one of them should happen to be accused of domestic violence, and especially given his past, you would have to say credibly accused, because it seems like he's accused of doing exactly the kind of thing we've seen him do on video before.
That's right.
See, that's the thing. That's a pattern, right? Like the pattern of it is really what, for it to kind of rear up, like what is it, like 2 weeks out from this fight is problematic. But I always wonder if at some point people dissociate in a way that they didn't used to. It's like if nobody would want any of these headlines. They would not want to be associated or have anything to do with something of this nature, right? Because remember even with, like, Kobe Bryant back in the day when he got busted out in Vail, or he was accused of sexual assault. And I remember McDonald's immediately, like it was like McDonald's, Nike, they kind of were like, this is Kobe Bryant, by the way, like Kobe Bryant, and they're dissociating with him. They're like dropping him from endorsement deals. I remember Rashard Mindenhall, the running back, where it was happening, where like his sponsors like Hanes and some of those brands like that were dropping him just for making a tweet about Osama bin Laden, like a conspiracy theory. There was a point in time where big companies, especially like Netflix, who's like getting into the game in a big way, and you don't want to set a precedent, in these ways, they would just be like, no, we're not, this is off. Like you would take the damage as it is and you'd be like, we're not associating with this. But the problem with like boxing and Tank Davis is he's continuously getting by with it. Like, and this is just kind of lots of people in the space right now. They're in trouble a lot. We sweep it under the rug. We just watch their next fight. And it'd be very interesting. I hope in a strange way, just to restore like some kind of faith in people's better judgments and taste, that maybe there is a repercussion waiting for him. Maybe they don't want to do this, because at some point it is ridiculous, right? Like this is 2 weeks out of a fight, like you mentioned, Ben. Nobody, like it feels like it's just arriving with a major thud anyway. I don't know why you'd want to do this, and I can't help but think like you don't want to set a bad precedent. As low as the barrier of entry is for combat sports, I'm not sure I'd want to be dealing with this if you're trying to carve out an identity within that.
Yeah, look, it's actually a great point, like kind of the sign of the times kind of situation. This whole thing being more accepted for some reason, it feels, in this day and age than it ever has been. And honestly, it kind of feeds into the next topic, which is Andrew Tate being announced as the new Misfits CEO.
Why are these two always paired? I feel like there was a Connor in there somewhere. It's like all these people are always paired together in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this shocked anyone, right? I think we've been talking about this. We kind of expected Tate to be announced on Misfits. I asked Eddie Hearn, I think it was 3 weeks. When was it? 3 or 4 weeks ago in Belfast. Like, could you imagine if you tried to do this? Like you tried to promote Andrew Tate, the shit you'd get. And he was like, well, it's not boxing. They can get away with shit like this. It
is called Misfits, I guess. So it's like
right, but I do wonder too. I mean, I don't know exactly what the current perception of Andrew Tate is in the UK.
It's terrible. It's
great.
terrible.
But the Misfits brand up until this point has been, we're kind of screwing around and having a good time. Like we'll have some real boxing matches in a way, you know, but we'll also have a guy who runs a shop and he's on Instagram, and so he's on TikTok, and we'll have that guy fight, even though he doesn't fight and doesn't know how.
We'll I'll show up dressed in a Prime bottle, you know.
Right, you know, we have a 4-man heavyweight tag team match. We're doing kind of silly stuff, and it's towing the line between actual serious boxing competition and just a for fun sports entertainment kind of show. But then when you do this, it starts to feel not so fun anymore. It starts to make people go, wait a minute, what is this? And I really wonder what they think the play is here, what the appeal is, because if you watch this announcement, the whole announcement thing was weird. It's very pro wrestling. It's like, you know, we had a board meeting and we named Andrew Tate our new CEO, and it feels like there ought to be quotes around all those words. You know, you're just like, okay. Like it kind of feels like it has a vibe like we're making him general manager of Raw. You know, like it doesn't seem like we're really making him a executive within the company. Right. I don't know. It also seems like, are you playing into the controversy angle? You know, people hate Andrew Tate, and so you think so. Hey, maybe people will want to watch in the hopes that he gets the shit beaten out of him. That is one of the promises this sport can offer that other sports and other venues in life do not. But it also seems like they're sort of playing it as, hey, we think Andrew Tate has an audience that he will bring. And I'm curious, like, what they think, who they think the viewers end up being for this. Because I think that if they're thinking that it's all just like controversy equals attention equals views, I don't know if it's going to shake out that way. If they think Andrew Tate still has like this sort of right-wing, alt-right, men's rights, misogynistic viewership, and they'll go wherever he goes, I guess I have to take your word that those people are out there. You know, the point that my good friend Chad Dundas made on the Co-Main Event podcast recently was, you know, with other areas, other fighters where they're great fighters, and we wish they wouldn't have such problematic personal lives, it feels like we kind of have to work around them because they're so good. But this is one, we don't have to do any of this. Right. There's nobody out there being like, we have to see Andrew Tate in this fight. No, we don't have to do any of this. This is absolutely a choice. It's completely avoidable. And that's what makes it, I think, where people are going to go, I don't know, Misfits, it was fun before, and now it's starting to seem a little icky.
Like, can you imagine, like, back in the day, if they're like, Charles Manson is going to be fighting, you know? Just like, why not? Well, it brings views, you know, because people know who Charles Manson is, you know? But it's just, it's gross. But I think you nailed it. The thing that bothers me is there's no real reason to do it. If you're a fight fan, I mean, I guess that element exists. Like, I want to see him get his ass kicked, but I don't really get the sense that that's what's in play. No, it's more that,
especially because we're not sending him into a fight that it looks like he's a lamb to slaughter.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's the kind of blows that out of the water. And he does have like a combat background, right? Like he was kickboxing.
Oh, he's really like he was a.
I didn't pay any attention to him back in the day, but I know that.
No,
like,
but it was ISKA. Like it wasn't like exactly glory, you know. Like
the record was not quite as good either. As I mean, I really enjoyed the way they phrased it in the Sherdog one. You know, because they run the Fight Finder. They're experts at figuring out which fights actually happened, which ones we can confirm. And it's like he says his record is like 76-9 or something like that, and they're like, we can confirm 24-8, which tells you something. Like, you know, it's always people think they have 50 more wins than the record does, but only one more loss.
He hasn't been as trustworthy with all of the stuff. Like a lot of the stuff, I feel like he's kind of like, but it's just, it is a bizarre, it's such a bizarre thing, man. It's just, you know, you used to not want to be, it's the same thing. You just used to not want to be associated with this, and I feel like somehow we've scrambled these bearings. Like you mentioned, Ben, I think the crazy thing is I was under the impression in the Misfits events I've watched that they were just like, yeah, we're having a bit of fun, we're mixing it up, we're doing these things, but this is something else. You know, this takes it afield, and to me, it just feels like an ugly thing. There are people out there alive right now, very much alive, who are affected by this man, you know, in big ways. dramatic ways where he's it's just a crazy thing to celebrate or to put him in, in any form. It's just, it doesn't feel right. He's got like, right, like he's got a arrest warrant.
He's been accused of like sexual assault in like 3 different countries.
Human trafficking, just the worst shit. And like
when he got out of house arrest in Romania and in February, came to the U.S. By the way, Dana White, very eager to greet him and his brother and be like, "Hey, welcome back to America, boys." So that he wasn't put off by it. The very next month, he was again accused of physical and sexual abuse in California in a civil suit. That's 1 month later after getting out of the house arrest. I don't, even if you're one of these
UK
people,
charges came around then too, right? Like they were after he had gone to the US and everything like that. I think it came out while he was in the US.
It's even if you're one of these people who somehow thinks that false rape accusations are just prevalent all over the place, keeps happening to the same guy.
Right.
Keeps happening. And it's also a guy where he has come out and told you in interviews, he said, "I'm absolutely a misogynist." That's a quote from him. He said, "I'm a realist, and to be a realist means that you are a sexist." He has said women are, quote, "inherently lazy." So it's a guy telling you, "I hate women and I think that they should be abused by me." And then he gets accused of abusing women. How do you still tell yourself like, it's just the system out to get him, man? Like, no, it's a classic she said, he also said situation. I don't understand, especially, I don't know what Mams Taylor's life is like as the promoter and, co-president of Misfits Boxing, but somewhere in his life, there must be women he cares about. Does he go home after a decision like this and have people being like, "So, do you think I'm inherently lazy for being a woman? Do you like you're down
man.
with this guy?" Like, I don't know what you say to people when you get on board with that. Are you just saying like, "Hey, it's good for the business"? Because first of all, I don't know if it is, but second of all, is that where you're at? Anything for a buck with Misfits Boxing? Because I feel like there are other directions you could go there.
Maybe CEO is
dude.
Maybe CEO stands for a constant ethical offender or something like that.
Wow, this is why you're Chuck Mindenhall.
Thanks,
That's right.
Thanks, guys. I don't have a mic, but
just a note on the idea that we might see this guy folded up. The threat of combat sports.
Wait, who's this cat he's fighting? This television personality?
Here you go. No offense, Andy. Producer Andy is a big fan of Chase Damore. She knows him from his work on the reality show Too Hot to Handle, as she told me before. Very good looking man. And there you go. Perfect match. I text, and I won't say who this is. Some of you will deduce who it is. I sent to a guy who texted me many weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, he's like, "Andrew Tate's going to fight this guy." And I text him, "Is this guy good?" And the reply, 2 words, was famously terrible. That's how he replied.
Wow.
So I believe he has some kind of belt. So I guess Tate's going to fight for a belt. But I think this will be, particularly in the UK, and I'll keep you guys abreast of it because to answer your earlier question, Ben, he is one of the most controversial figures in the UK in general. I think everybody saw the reaction to that Adolescence show, which was huge on Netflix. And it's also like a thing you'll see like Channel 4 and BBC do these documentaries about like going into schools and talking to young men about like, are they being influenced by this, trying to counteract it? Like, so it's a big story. And Misfits being a UK company, I feel like it's going to be on Newsnight and things like that, like big shows, like primetime news shows. But again, if the idea is this controversy will feed the views, maybe that is what they're looking at. It's just such a backward situation. It's really hard to tell. But I do think the whole CEO bullshit, that story, which is obviously bullshit, like, oh, he taken KSI, left town, and now Andrew Tate's
Right.
the CEO. Oh my God. I do think that might be an effort to protect KSI because that guy is in mainstream spaces in the UK. I mean, Prime is a mainstream thing. He is music videos that are in the charts over here. Like lots of kids look up to this guy. He sells out stadiums for the Sidemen football games, all this charity stuff. I can't imagine this is a good move for a guy like that to be coinciding, it seems, with Andrew Tate. So that's my opinion on that. What do you like? Is there a massive interest in this in the US as well? Like this guy is like Like, I mean, do you guys encounter this guy in everyday life in terms of the US? Like, you know, you have teenage kids. Like, is this guy like a massive quantity in their worlds?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that it to the extent that people hear about him if you're not already in the camp, if you're not already a fan somehow, I think it's always negative when people hear about him. It's a way to make sure if you want to make sure you never get any matches on a dating app, go ahead and put on there as a man that you're a big Andrew Tate fan. You know, that'll do it. Like, that's kind of the reputation that he brings along with him. And so that's why it was a little confusing to me to see the way that they were presenting this in this announcement. I was like, are you going for rage bait here? Are you trying to get people? Because we've seen it in the fight game before, where one of the most reliable ways to get viewership for a thing is to get somebody, or get a pairing, get some sort of dynamic where people are like, I really want to see this person hurt. And if you're telling me there's a chance to do that, then I will tune in for that. That can work on people. But it also didn't feel like that's exactly what they were thinking here. It seemed like they thought, like, all right, the controversy will be good for some attention, but also like this guy will bring a viewership with him. And I just don't know to what extent that is still the case, and to like at what cost does it stop being worth it to you to do something like that?
Maybe it's just like a response to the cancel culture, which was such a big deal of the last few years. Maybe it's just the extreme response the other way. Like, sometimes you wonder if society just does that. You know, we're going to do it because we're so mad at, everything that went on. We're going to just do what we want. Like, so the other, because I mean, honestly, it's inexplicable on other levels. Like, if you just try to rationalize it compared, like, with context of everything that's happened before it in terms of sporting events, and you wouldn't find any answers,
Yeah. Is it, man? Like we say, like is it grown man who followed this guy? Like, I always had in my head it was teenagers. Like, I always had in my head like it's as like, obviously kids, a lot more of their worlds are online compared to like when we were growing up, right? Like, we were outdoor children, and now kids are like very much online and stuff. I thought like that's where he kind of. It's just it would be like, I've never met a dude my age who's like, yo, I see Tate's new video.
No.
Like, I'd be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I just never have met that guy. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe you run in certain circles.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
You're a rat, Pizza. I'm going to go put it on the walls of Dublin.
And I'm hanging around with all the time. God damn it. Fucking lefties.
Petesy Carroll, you rat. Just spray painted it across the house.
I'm marking that somewhere whenever I visit Dublin.
I've already cleaned that off the wall. That is not there anymore, okay? Therefore, it is not true. Listen, we could stay here all day and talk about Tank Davis and Andrew Tate, but we need to get on to Ronda Rousey. But first,
some happy stuff.
But first, you go ahead and enjoy this ad break. We'll be back to speak about Rousey, who again hates MMA by everything that she is saying lately. Enjoy.
Do you think that some perspective, getting older, building the family you've built, has made you love the game again in a different way, like almost in that youthful way?
Just in building the family, there's a responsibility to show them what hard work is. I want to hand over a visual, an experience for them to understand, how did all of these things come about? And I need them to understand that.
It's time, as I've done so many times before, to teach Brandon Walker a lesson. And I kid you not, they go to overtime and Texas hits that game-winning touchdown, and wouldn't you know it, it happens right in Brandon Walker's face. Look at that. Now, I don't know medically how long Brandon Walker will live. He may live another 60 years. I know that his soul died right there. Right there.
But I don't mind them coming in because I don't really see it as competition. I'm a serious promoter. I'm a promoter who's gonna promote and develop world champions from the get-go, from the start. I'm gonna identify prospects, and I'm gonna build them just like the way I built Canelo, just the way I built Ryan Garcia, just the way I'm building all my champions now. It's step by step.
What did you see from the Boston side of things?
My doomer mentality was, they're going to make the playoffs as a 7 seed. Tatum's going to come back, and all of a sudden, as a 7 seed or an 8 seed, they're going to end up in the Eastern Conference Finals. Then to see it basically be just Derek White and Jaylen Brown, and like other guys that they're fine, can play, but it just doesn't look like the same thing. It was actually kind of stunning.
We promised you some Ronda Rousey chat, and we've had quite a bit of Ronda Rousey chat. One thing that's constant with Ronda Rousey is the fact that she seems to hate the sport that loved her so much, and particularly us fucking dickheads, the MMA media. Let's have a listen to what she told the great and one of the greatest interviewers of all time, Bert Kreischer.
MMA fans and media are the most "what have you done for us lately" crowd of any sport. Like, you look at WWE and they have such a reverence for their legends. And at MMA, it's like the second that you're not on top, you're not shit and you never were shit. Chuck Liddell, when he's on top, oh my God, he's the best, he's the best. The second that he loses, oh, Chuck Liddell ain't shit, he never was shit. Rampage Jackson, oh my God, he's the next Mike Tyson, he's so great. Second he loses, oh, Rampage ain't shit, he never was shit.
Yeah.
GSP, oh, he loses, he's not shit, he never was shit. And I think the only reason that why MMA fans have their lips so firmly planted at the base of Khabib's cock is because he retired before he reached his limit. And if he kept fighting until he reached his limit, everybody would be like, oh, Khabib ain't shit, he never was shit. And they're like that.
She's a well-adjusted person.
Yeah.
Like, name one person.
I mean,
Brock ain't shit, he never was shit. Name one past champion that has that the kind of respect that the current champions do. It's really sad because I think it encourages people to try and get out while they're peaking and taking all of that equity with them instead of passing it on to whoever's next to take up the mantle. I wanted to retire undefeated because I was so afraid of, like, oh, everything that I've accomplished is going to be nothing if I ever lose. So I have to retire undefeated.
Do you think Bert was like, wait, what were we saying about the Khabib thing again?
Let's go back to that real quick. Listen, I know you have something coming out about this, Chuck, but what do you have to say for yourself? What do you have to say for what you did to Ronda Rousey?
I still think, I pointed this out. I did write a column about this, which is up right now at Uncrowned, but you see her at a remove, I think, of 9 years now, right? And you would hope in some level that she would finally kind of understand, like, maybe I should have handled the situation better back in the day when she lost, right? Like, this would have been the bare minimum was her to just show up and say, man, maybe I handled myself poorly, and I could, or whatever it is. But this would have gone a long way toward the goodwill of her fan base than returning some love back to her. But she never did that. She just went on a 13-month almost like power sulk where she just kind of disappeared, and she treated everybody with she treated her fan base with disdain. She really pushed everybody out. And even when she came back under the circumstance of basically saying, I won't do any press ahead of this fight with Amanda Nunes. And it was just a horrible look, man. I mean, I still think to this day in all of the combat world that I've paid attention to and anything I've looked up, it's the worst look I think I've seen from somebody who lost the fight. Like, I just think she handled it more poorly than anybody ever has in our sport. And that feeds into the resentment. And especially as she continuously shows up 9 years later and still puts it on the fan base itself. She holds resentment toward the fan base itself when all they wanted, I think, was her to be the champion she purported to be when everything was on top. It was just one of those things where I'm like, I feel like she's tone deaf to what actually happened. And so I wrote about that in a column today, but it was a little disheartening because there's a part of me that's like, dude, she should get her rightful place. There was a moment in time she changed the sport. It was such a boom era, 2012 to 2015. She should get her due, but she doesn't do herself any favors by talking like that.
Yeah. I think, when I saw these comments, I was like, she's not 100% wrong. She's making some decent points, but she then takes some turns from those points where you go, well, I can't follow you down there. Because the claim that, hey, MMA does not do a good job of remembering and honoring its own history, that is true.
Absolutely.
But part of that is because, like, the UFC as a promoter sees The money is to be made on the next fight. The next fight is always the biggest one. The next event is always the biggest one. Some of these past champions, we'll honor them if we have time and if we're on good terms with them. But there's not as much of a percentage for them in the past. The money is in the future, and that's part of it. And the churn rate among fans, how many fans, watch the sport for a while and then drift away for one reason or the other. And so you got a lot of new fans who maybe don't know the history. That's part of it too. But also when she starts naming, where she's like, name me one former champion who is treated with the reverence of the current champs. And I was just like, GSP. Like she mentioned, she was like, GSP, he lost.
Fair few.
She was just like, he lost. It wasn't shit. And I was just like, well, first of all, he lost to Matt Serra in the huge shocking upset, came back, avenged the loss, and then didn't lose again. And then, Anderson Silva. There's somebody where it's just like had a high peak that fell off it pretty sharply toward the end, made us a little sad at times, but especially now that his MMA career is over and he's moved on firmly to big time boxing bouts, we can kind of see it all in its totality. People have a ton of respect for Anderson Silva. There's a lot of fighters also who even weren't at that level, at high peak level, who weren't the guys who won them all, who won some, lost some, and are beloved. Robbie Lawler, Nick Diaz, Matt Brown, these kind of guys where it was just like you embodied a certain sort of like attitude and ethos that people could get behind. They enjoyed that even when you lost. And I think one of the things that she's missing here, and you would expect her to get it more as a person who has spent some time in pro wrestling, is what fans are getting out of fight sports isn't just we're here to watch people get knocked out. It isn't just like I want my person to win and the other person to lose. Like there's an inspiration that people take from fight sports because it's so dangerous and difficult, because it's so hard. We are seeing somebody push themselves to these limits, and we're seeing how they deal with crushing disappointment at times. And we can take inspiration and lessons in our own lives from that. That's one of the things people like, whether they realize it, whether they admit it or not. That is one of the things people like about this sport. And when it came time for her to be on that side of it, as you said, Chuck, she handled it extremely poorly. One of the enduring images is Ronda Rousey walking through the airport with a pillow pushed to her face, just kind of trying to run from it instead of dealing with it. And when you see her making these comments now, it just feels like you're still running from it. You never quite turned around and faced up to it, and you don't want to. And people are going to judge you for that, especially when you were on top and you had a lot of swagger. You were telling everybody how you're the greatest. You had a lot of shit to say about everybody else. As soon as you tumble off that top, people are going to take the opportunity to be like, aha, you weren't not so great now, are you? That's part of it. That's just built into the game.
Especially because her top was a historic top. There was no comparison, right? Like she was the Trojan horse that brought women's MMA to the UFC, and everybody still to this day, I feel like she gets tons of credit. You'll see like younger fighters. Well, I saw Ronda do it back in the day, and I'm doing it. So where she was at, it just required. I mean, honestly, she was perfectly suited for that station when it was all positive. She handled it like people said she could knock out Mayweather. She was going to deny. She was going to be like, yeah, I could. All of these things. She handled all of the positive as it happened as well as you possibly could, and enhanced it and everything else. You needed something from her in the loss, like in the Muhammad Ali sense of it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get up sense, right? Like that you needed something from her rather than her just being pissed off at the fan base. Like that didn't make any sense. So I feel like she made her own bed in that sense. Like a lot of times when she's complaining now, I'm like, well, Ronda, you did not help yourself. You put yourself in this position.
Yeah, it's look, I think both of you guys sound like do nothing bitches. If I'm being completely honest, I think she's completely.
No, I've always admitted that.
But like even like you're talking about how big she was, and I think you have this in your piece, the Beyonce moment, like where Beyonce has that like on loop, her saying like the "do nothing bitch" quote, and then she's playing like a massive stadium. It was absolutely out of control. It was insane. I do feel as though, people talking about her return to MMA, I don't see that at all. I think she's going to box in one of these silly fights. That's what I think is going to happen here. All of the videos of her silly, like sparring, we're seeing the old Mayweather hands going again. I would fully believe. Like, I
could see her beating Andrew Tate. Put her on the cover of Ring.
I mean, I've watched the shit out of that. I'm sure Andrew Tate would be very happy with that situation too, given his disdain for the females of the world. Yeah. But yeah, it does feel like, I know she has a book out though. Like, I feel like we're going to see her back in combat sports. Like, you don't do this many interviews talking over and over again. Like, obviously she's a legend of the sport, but it just seems very direct to me. I just feel like, why would you do all this if you weren't going to compete again? Or is she just that full of resentment, would you say?
Well, I mean, I think that she got that book to sell, right? Like, so I think that's one of the reasons to, like, a motivation to show up in some of these interviews and generate some headlines is, you know, to say some inflammatory things. And she's pretty good at that. That comes very naturally to her. I really hope she doesn't compete in any combat sports again, because when she talks about it, she seems like she definitely doesn't love it. She definitely doesn't feel like she really wants to compete. She keeps saying she doesn't need the money. So why would you do it? Also, all that stuff that she said to us about all the brain trauma she endured and the effects that it was having on her, if that was something you were dealing with and really not that long ago, then you probably shouldn't fight ever again. You should probably make it a priority to never get hit in the head again, because that stuff seemed pretty serious. So if that was true, then I really hope she doesn't fight.
Yeah,
I don't think she'd want to. I honestly don't think she'd do it. You know, some people are like, the thrill of whatever it is they get from fighting is why they come back, you know, being without it. She struck me in the end, especially ahead of that Amanda Nunes, like, just the idea of losing again was way too much for her. Like, so for her to come back and risk losing again, you know, and putting herself in that situation, I just can't imagine she would do that.
No, it's actually a really solid point as well. Before we leave you, we mustn't forget that the super chats need to happen.
Here it is.
Yeah, that's just ripping off a little lick there on the guitar. Do we have any super chats though? Oh, show me the way. All right. On Air Jordan. Oh, On Air, is that the On Air Jordan?
Is it really?
Back on vacay. Caribbean is lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, fair play.
He's got to
Good
get
for
his
him.
28 weeks of vacation time
him.
in each year, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's
Get plenty of sleep, fella.
Yeah.
Get plenty of sleep.
And I don't know if the Caribbean is lovely right now. I don't know if that's true, Jordan.
I'd give it
maybe
a
a bad time to be there.
Yeah.
You know, I'd take it over Ireland. Not gonna lie to you, but lads, that's all we got. Enjoy the Apex card this weekend, guys.
Can't
there
wait.
seems to be lots of thrills and spills that we will have to untangle before.
Who's the main
year's
event,
out.
Petesy?
Yeah, that's right. It is. No, it's Garcia v. Onana, I believe.
All right.
Yeah, come on. I know. I'm gonna listen. I tell you this before. You don't think I'm hardcore, but somehow my body just rejects sleeping on Saturday nights. It's like, go on, turn it on, go
You're
on, sit
conditioned
down.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Now Sundays too, right? You're up pretty late on Sundays.
I love the
watching your
football.
Love
Bills,
this football.
Chiefs this weekend's gonna be amazing. Listen, enjoy your trick or treating, enjoy Halloween, go and watch a scary movie, turn off all the lights, light a fire. Have a great time. We love you very much. See you next week. Mwah.